Coming up on Newsnight, we are just 4 days away from Election Day 2012, and we are just moments away from talking with an extraordinary panel of journalists about that election. That's next on Newsnight. Good evening. This is Newsnight for November 2nd, 2012, 4 days before Election Day. And before we get started on our program, we do want to send our thoughts and our prayers to the millions of people who've been impacted by Tropical Storm Sandy. You know, sometimes Mother Nature has a way to put things into perspective for us. But right now, we have an election ahead of us. And a little bit later in the program, Ed Esposito and I will sit down with the Deputy Director and the Director of the Summit County Board of Elections. But right now, I have two wonderful colleagues and friends who are joining me to discuss our pre-election coverage. First, I want to welcome back to the set Eric Mansfield, former Newsnight host, former WKYC news anchor, and now you are the Executive Director, University Media Relations, Kent State University.
Thanks for a very long business card.
It does. But you're worth it. You're worth it.
Great to be here.
And of course, Ed Esposito, my wonderful and inimitable friend, who is
at least before we start the show.
That's true. News Director for WAKR, as well as the Vice President of Information Media for Rubber City Radio.
Hi, Jody.
Gentlemen, hi.
Good to be between you.
Yes, glad to have you here between us. I want to start, obviously, with elections. And I would like to ask both of you your impressions of the impact that maybe early voting has had on what you're seeing right now in this race.
Well, I think it is significant across the country. You can look that as many as a third of all voters across the country will vote early. Of course, the president voted early, first time we've ever seen that happen in a presidential election. And in as many as 10 states are predicting they'll have more early voters total than they will on Election Day. So people are taking advantage of it. The biggest problem a lot of people have, though, is it's not standardized across the country. Some states have it for a week, some have it for 3 weeks. And so it's certainly going to have an impact. And as we looked at the last time of the election, we have buyer's remorse. Sometimes people go into the polls early thinking, I'll get this done, and then they realize they didn't do their homework on every race maybe they should have.
Or every issue.
I think the numbers are daunting in Ohio, and it's just it's a real eye-opener to anyone who has to think about political strategy or how to do things. For example, in the last presidential election, you had approximately 6 million people cast votes
in Ohio.
In the presidential race in Ohio. So, at this point now, you have 1.2 million people have already cast ballots, either absentee or in person. The in-person balloting statewide was about 300,000. All the rest of it was ballots that were sent from home. And that was at a 1.3 million requests for ballots. So I think at that point alone, for people who actually got the card, sent the card back, and wanted to get a mail ballot to vote, that's a 72% turnout, which is just remarkable for that. But it does turn on the head a lot of the old way of doing things politically in terms of ad buys. It's one of the reasons why you've seen this constant rush of television commercials from both candidates, not just because Ohio is an important battleground state for congressional, Senate, and the presidential races, but it's also changed the focus of how you strategize an election. So it's not a question of getting your vote out to the polls on one day anymore. It's about getting your vote to the polls or to vote over a 30-day period. So it's fundamentally changed the way politics is practiced.
And that challenges the funding of campaigns, some of which are limited and can really only put dollars into the typically over the last few days leading up to the election, now have to start much earlier. They're running out of money, they're running out of steam before they get to Election Day, when still a vast majority of people in Ohio are likely to vote.
I also think it's something, and we're obviously this is something that Kim and Joe will weigh in on, but I think in terms of the management of elections and the efficiency of elections and how it's paid for, there's a lot of talk of convenience of voting. And, quite frankly, it's just, there's nothing more convenient than voting at your kitchen table and sending a ballot in, as long as you have the right postage on it. But, when you get that absentee ballot in, it tells you what you're supposed to do. It advises you to weigh and make sure, and here's what this should cost and all of that. But it does raise questions about how much are we willing to pay for these elections, what's realistic. Summit County, of course, had a big fight with budget over what it costs to actually run an election. We're in an era now where you just can't have a government program, even when it's elections, and say, well, we don't care what it costs, let's move ahead, as you would expect. As judges kind of have some of that mentality, well, this is what you need to do. You have serious, honestly expressed elections of how much is this going to cost? How do we operate this? Which machines do we use? Are they universal? You're in a home rule state where local boards of elections can make their own decisions on what kind of voting machines that they want, for example. So there's no, in a lot of sense, there's no uniformity statewide. There may be uniformity in what hours the voters can go in Saturday and Sunday and Monday of this week. To go in and vote on the polls, but as to how you vote on those polls, how those ballots are processed, what kind of machinery you use, a lot of that is still left up to individual boards of elections. So I think it does raise interesting questions, not only about the political strategy, but also about the administrative strategy and how you do this.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, is there any way to know how much each vote costs? Has there ever been a breakdown?
Well, if you were going to base it based on what the presidential candidates have been spending, it's about $20 a vote. But that's a good question, and that'd be a good question for, I think, for Joe and Kim, is to, how much does this cost, and again, how much is too much? County Executive Russ Pry had questions about how much was too much when they looked at the vote. Obviously, all 4 members of the Board of Elections had their own ideas how much is too much. Again, there's no set amount that says you should be paying this.
And I think you're already seeing it in the presidential election because there are public records available on who votes early. And the samples are calling these people, the samplers, immediately, the day after their name becomes public, saying, well, would you tell us who you voted for and why? And that is giving feedback to the campaigns from the early voters on what's resonating and what's not. I think you're seeing it in the Romney campaign as they try to come back toward the middle even more. A lot of that is due to research being done on who's voting for Obama, who's voting for Romney, as they get feedback from those people voting early.
What about the impact of Citizens United and the influx of money that is now allowed?
Right here on this channel last night, Frontline did a whole hour special on it. I'm sure they'll rerun it. You should take a look at it, called Big Sky, looking at the Citizens United ruling, which is barely a year old. And a majority of it seems like a majority of the TV spots we're seeing blasting across Northeast Ohio are all from the PACs, the super PACs, those that are based on the Citizens United ruling. So they're turning out so much, I think it's hard to really hold them accountable and look up, everything that they're saying in these ads, and I think they're having a big impact on people.
Well, it's there goes that damn pesky free speech and democracy again. I think about.
Well, but it's free speech based on a corporation being free speech.
Or is it free speech based on the man from Hungary who emigrated after World War II to the U.S.? Is it free
tells me
speech
there's a
for him?
backstory to that commercial that hasn't come
Well,
out yet.
I'm sure there is, but the fact of the matter is he can pay for it and do that. The backstory, according to the commercial, is that he came here in search of capitalism and the American dream, and he found it, and now he thinks it's threatened. Is that any different than than what the unions and what the SEIU puts in the money on both sides on this? Citizens United works both ways. This is the whole argument about free speech. The test of free speech isn't when it's something that you agree with. It's the right of someone you disagree with to express that opinion. And the court has held, I think correctly, that whether it's a corporation or a union or otherwise, you have a right to free speech in the political process. Now, does it drive you crazy looking at all the ads on TV? Yeah, it does. But until there's a backlash from people that they've had enough of this, and that candidates start paying the price or issues start paying the price because they're flooded by this, then I think in some respects it's the marketplace of ideas, and it's a free marketplace of ideas. I don't have any problem with Citizens United.
I don't either. I just think the frustration comes into the confusion that their ads create, because so many of them are attacking and so many of them are outlandish from both sides that they become the stormtroopers doing the dirty work that the candidate can say, I didn't put that spot up there. But it muddies the water and really confuses the voters at times as to what the truth is.
But I don't know how different that is over the course of history. I mean, if you look at other presidential campaigns back before there was a Citizen United, before there was television, before there was radio, before there was a web, before there was Facebook, before you see people flaming each other on Twitter, before there was all that, you still had candidates who made outrageous claims that you didn't have time to check on or otherwise. I mean, I just, I was talking with a friend of mine. I would love to be able to go back in history and fact check Douglas and Lincoln. I would love to be able to go in.
See who sent you off to China?
I would love to, well, or see who increased your taxes to the point where you can't do business anymore. I would love to get to the point where you go fact check Roosevelt and Hoover. Which probably has more historical perspective on someone coming in during economic turmoil and promising change. So, it's a totally different environment there, but the rules still apply. Politicians are going to say what they think they need to say in order to get elected or in order to paint their cause or their candidate in a more positive light. I don't think that's changed one bit. It's just the method of doing so.
But it's also incumbent upon the voter to make sure that they do their research and they know what, in fact, is factual and what, in fact, is not real.
But it was always incumbent upon the voter to do that. I mean, how incumbent and how many tools did voters have in Wyoming in 1890 or whenever they did get
But how muddy is that question when you apply it to how it's being responded to now? Because candidates, when things get thrown at them, don't always say that's false and here's why. They just simply say you can't trust that media organization. The Wall Street Journal, oh, they're in the tank for Obama. Fox News, oh, they're in the tank for Romney. Right down to the local level.
Wall Street Journal's in a tank for Obama. You mean the New York Times?
The Wall Street Journal tends to lean left, but the New York Times gets blamed.
The Wall Street Journal leans left?
Sure it does.
Brother,
sure it does.
We need to go get a drink after this show.
But there are those even locally who say, well, you can't believe the Beacon Journal because they're in the tank for the Democrats and those kind of things. So they're blaming the messenger. And that continues to befuddle the viewers, the readers, the listeners,
remember that being
trying
done
to learn
in the
information.
70s. I remember the argument that the Beacon Journal was in tank for the Republicans. So, the fact of the matter is...
The Beacon Journal for the Republicans?
I'm old enough to remember this, my friend. In the
70s,
70s, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. The Beacon Journal was a Republic. That was the reason my father got the Beacon Journal and not the Plain Dealer.
I want to move on real quick
here.
Last year, you had an opportunity to attend the Poynter Institute. And part of what you went there for was to find out how social media and technology was going to impact elections. How have you seen it impact this election?
Well, it's significant because while we watch all of the different media organizations out there covering the elections and we look and analyze the ads, most voters don't. They log on to something they believe in. And if you look at voter trends according to social media, many of them have been supported by what they've learned from their friends, their neighbors, what's been shared with them, not just on Twitter and Facebook, but Tumblr and blogs, as the way they communicate with one another. Much like they tell you whether a movie's worth seeing, now they're telling you very much whether a candidate or an issue is worth supporting. So both sides, from nationally down to the local level, are putting so much money into social media because it's having an impact. The problem is they don't control their brand anymore. Right. They put out their message and they can't really fight back to try to support it with things before it gets out there in the masses, and they spin it around through social media. So the camps have had a hard time, I think, getting control on it.
I think that's why you see politicians strategically now are far more concerned with not making mistakes than they are with expressing a vision.
Because everything is so immediate?
Well, no, it's because everything now has risen to the higher level of one misstep can be fatal. So, it's not as though you can, there are no stubbing of toes anymore. Even by looking at the debate, and I think this is one thing that the media has contributed to, but buying into the argument that someone wins and someone loses, where the essence of the debate is the audience should win because they're hearing what both candidates have to say, and they can weigh what each says. The fact that you had near historic levels of people watching debates, even though the third one dropped a little bit, you still have approximately 60 million people on average watching these debates. You're assuming and hoping they're all voters, but you have when you have that number of people, that's the number of people that vote in these elections. When you start looking at those numbers, but then when you go to the spin immediately afterwards, when it's, well, who won and who did this, and it becomes more about style than about substance, the message that comes to candidates at that point is, I really don't have to worry or structure my campaign based on substance. I need to worry more about style because the debates just became a TV show. They didn't become a political exchange.
That's your Nielsen ratings right there. It comes right back to you very quickly.
Yes.
And we're gonna jump this discussion to NewsNite.net.
For more NewsNite content, including extended discussions, full interviews, and the chance to speak your mind about the issues, join us online at NewsNite.net.
There's no governmental office more instrumental on Election Day than boards of election. And we are very pleased to have with us Joe Masich, who is the director of the Summit County Board of Elections, and Kimberly Zers, who is in fact the deputy director of the Summit County Board of Elections. Thank you both for taking time out of a totally hectic life at this point. Okay, a couple days before the election. Are you guys ready?
We are ready, and we will be ready by Tuesday morning at 6:30 a.m.
Good. All right. So tell me, please, how has the early voting had an impact on what your jobs are right now?
Well, early voting
depends on the day.
Yeah, depends on the day. But early voting is going, as you know, is at our offices on Grant Street, but it is going quite well. We have had numbers as high as, I believe, 1,638 just the other day, and
On one day?
On one day.
Wow.
From 8 in the morning till 7 at night, and I think the average wait time is anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Inside the building. That doesn't count outside the building.
Right, and maybe just a little bit longer if people's application is not exactly correct or we're looking for an address or whatnot. But it's gone fairly well.
How does that impact? I mean, before early voting, you just had an opportunity to get ready for Election Day. You know, so how is your staff? Is it stretched almost to the breaking point now, trying to not only handle the needs of early voting and get ready for Election Day?
We've had early voting for quite some time, though, in Ohio. So I think Joe and I are both new to it because we're this is our first presidential. But a lot of our staff is quite experienced and have been through this, a number of times. This is the first time they've done a presidential at the board with early voting. And while it is going, somewhat smoothly, we still have some. I mean, you're always going to have the issue of people not happy that they're standing outside in the rain. It's cold and windy and they're not happy that they're outside, or there's not enough parking, those kinds of things sometimes. And it depends on what time of day they come. But the staff themselves have been great with handling people and with trying to get them processed as quickly. We do bring in a number of part-time employees to fill that void. Mm-hmm. Many of them, while we call them part-timers, probably have more years of experience than we could, and we have some fabulous workers there that are geared up and ready to go and putting in just a number of hours. I think both of us have just been amazed at how much goes into the process of getting ready for an election and how careful everything has to be, and the number of hours and pieces to the process. So the employees are just fabulous working through it. I just can't imagine us doing it without them that way.
Big test obviously coming up this weekend because you have Saturday, Sunday, and Monday in-person voting. Now, to your point, we've actually had early voting a lot more time than this, and it was called absentee voting, and people could either come in and request or absentee vote. I've done that. Jody and I have done that together on, going and filing an absentee ballot
and canceling out
on.
each other. But
well, we did that. We did that we did that with democracy in mind.
Joe and I will probably do the same.
that lunch afterwards. But in terms of this big push, it is at the board. You expect bigger crowds to come out Saturday, Sunday, Monday. For folks now who are realizing they either aren't available on Tuesday or they just don't want to vote on Tuesday for whatever reason like that. So, are you making any special plans to accommodate what might even be bigger crowds? I mean, I think it's conceivable you might see more than 1,600 people, for example, on Sunday when you're open from 1 to 5. Not that I'm encouraging people to go straight to the Board of Elections from church, but there are people that are going to think that way.
Past experience has the numbers, I think, from 08 range anywhere from 2,500 to 32 the last weekend. But that was over a longer period of open hours at a different facility. We're going to vote anybody who's in line at closing time if we're there till midnight. So depending on how long the line is, we will vote them on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and or Monday. Monday presents a problem for us only because of supplemental absentee reports.
Talk to me a little bit about it, because I know there was a political and there was court challenges and it was difficult, but I was struck by what the Secretary of State said, and what I heard from many elections board members too, is that the convenience of voting at the last minute doesn't jive well with what you actually have to do to prepare the books for that, for 6:30 Tuesday morning. And even though in-person voting stops at 2 o'clock on Monday, This is a huge turnaround issue. I mean, we kind of go back to where we were talking about the efficiency of voting and how much it costs to do this. The fact of the matter is you throw a lot of money, you can do anything at the last minute. Is this really a good thing for you from an administrative standpoint? Do you think the legislature, courts, whoever, are going to be able to work out something that will meet not only the demands of people being able to vote, but to do so it is in a cost-effective manner and it's not an administrative headache?
Well, I guess I would have to say, I've been a legislator, so it's hard for me to not weigh that little piece into it. I'm always interested in just getting as many people out to vote as you possibly can. So first and foremost, whatever we need to kind of help that happen, I believe in.
But
that's
how much
just
is that going to
core.
cost, Kim? I mean, at some point...
I don't know. It isn't so much of a cost, I don't think. It's just the process internally. There's no question that we will be working hard. We've got to make certain that those supplemental pieces are in those poll workers' hands the next morning, because that's how they know who has voted, because their poll book is marked specifically absentee, so that they know they have voted and they can't vote a second time. And they will be working to get that done. The early closing time will give us far more time. I think
the 2 o'clock closing time.
Before there was consideration, I think it was going to be, 6 or 8? And I think last election, that's what it was.
Late in the Monday afternoon or early evening.
Yeah, it was late. And then I know that they were up until very late at night trying to get that all finished and get them out. So, this will be the first time we've done it this way, so it's really kind of hard to know exactly what it's going to take for us. But we will have additional staff over the weekend just because we always, that's not unusual for us the weekend before the election to have our staff in there ready to be making sure that everything is where it needs to be and up.
I think in 2008 they dispatched cabs, taxi cabs, with the
that.
supplemental reports to go out to meet every possible precinct in time for the 6:30 opening.
I know that this is an election year where every registered voter in the state received an absentee ballot request in the mail. So we had a viewer write in with a question, and the question was, if someone asked for and received an absentee ballot request, and then they chose not to fill it out and went to the polls, what happens?
Nothing. They're an absentee voter who requests a ballot, either in person or by mail. In the signature box in our poll books, it says absentee sent. That notifies the poll workers on election day that they received an absentee ballot. Whether or not they voted it and send it back, the poll worker will not know. If the voter chooses to go to the polls on election day that had signed and applied for a ballot, they would have to vote a provisional ballot on election day to prevent somebody from voting 2 ballots.
And those provisionals don't get counted for 10 days,
Not
is
until
it?
10 days after the election.
But I want to get a sense of this, because if I sent in the orange card that you... Go ahead and hold
Well,
that
not the
up.
orange card. The orange card is what we send out.
This is what you send out.
That's
To
telling
tell
them
everybody their new precinct and
Telling
polling
you
location.
where they're going to do it. But if somebody got that card in the mail, sent it in, got an absentee ballot, so you mark that they requested an absentee ballot, you don't mark whether they voted an absentee ballot.
And hold that thought, because we're going to have to move this discussion to NewsNite.net.
On NewsNite.net, we cover a broader range of topics than we can on the air in 27 minutes. Join us online at NewsNite.net.
And we are back for our final segment of Newsnight, our pre-election show. And I want to ask both of our guests to pick a particular race, issue a candidate, explain it to us, and tell us why it is or is not important. Ed, you go first, please.
I'm going to pick issue 3 because it's, I think candidates come and go and the issues they represent come and go. But when you look at the foundation of government, the charter changes. So issue 3 is probably the most prominent in Akron. But if you look at cities like Greene and other communities always go through these charter changes. And we tend to dismiss them unless they're high profile or a big city like Akron. But issue 3 talks about the structure and when elections are held from city council members, whether they serve 2 or 4 year terms, whether you lump everyone in together. There are so many tendrils that come out of an issue like this, so many issues that come out of it, political and otherwise. I think these are important issues. These are the issues, to me, define what kind of government we want, as opposed to the candidate that, quite frankly, may very well be a 2 or 4 year short-termer.
I think the key to issue 3 is the word extra. the way it's worded on the ballot says, do we eliminate an extra election? Extra anything people are going to shoot down right now. And the fact that that word's there as opposed to getting rid of an existing election, I think will impact people. But I'm watching.
Is it really an extra election?
Exactly. But I'm watching issue 61, of course, the Akron school levy, because school levies don't fail, they just get delayed. And we'll see it again next year. This one failed by less than 200 votes last year. It's a little bigger this time, but we're seeing also some other big levies around there. But with the Akron schools, they've already cut to the bone. We saw middle school sports, middle school music, middle school foreign language, things like that are gone. Extra schools are being closed early. If they have to cut another $22 million, along with the other cuts that have come down from reduced state funding and just being in the inner city where not as many property taxes are being collected, we're going to see a significant impact. We're going to see probably a high school close here in Akron, which will have one community upset, and we're going to see things that won't be able to be reversed. So that's the one I think a lot of people are really watching, because if it fails, the impact is significant.
We've got about a minute here. Will the presidential election come down to Ohio, as all the pundits are saying?
Reuters says it's already over. They've already interviewed what they believe is a strong enough sample of people that have already voted early, and they're saying it's looking like it's an Obama runaway for Ohio. I don't think that's true, but some say it.
Yeah, but don't Democrats usually vote earlier anyway?
Well, certainly under the new rules, they're voting in larger groups, but I was surprised that Reuters is already calling it for Obama. But I think, with all the swing states, I think it'll come. We'll still be in play. You can bet anybody watching.
Yes, if Reuters is wrong, it's a shame, because Romney won't be able to hold up the Reuters newspaper that says Obama wins. So, does it come down to Ohio? Yes, it still comes down to every state. This has never been an election that's based. We're not a democracy or a republic. So the Electoral College is what matters. So all the polls you've seen on general polling around the nation, how would the nation vote? The nation doesn't vote. People in states vote. The Electoral College votes for the president.
Isn't that is very confusing, people seeing that popular vote, because it doesn't matter.
Well, I don't think it's confusing. I think that's the problem with cutting school services, because the civics class is usually one of the first to go, and that's the one that where you would learn that Electoral colleges are the way we elect presidents.
So it's the journalists that aren't paying attention to that?
Yes, it is the journalists who don't pay attention to that, and it's the ones that go for the easy headline on what the national poll is, which is not even worth a bucket of warm spit, which, if you want to know the reference to that phrase, look at the extended version on the web.
Gentlemen, thank you. I cannot tell you what a pleasure it was to have you both here. And it just flew by. The time just flew by. So
it always does with you, Jody.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us for NewsNight. Come back next week, because we're going to be recapping the election results with Steve Hoffman and Stephanie Warsmith and a special guest, John Green. And we'll also reprise the civility panel. Thank you and good night.